Everyone talks about locomotives, everyone talks about wagons, but almost nobody talks about the invisible queue that decides whether goods move or wait. Every day in India, thousands of freight customers place requests for trains, coal, steel, containers, cement, food grains. But behind every moving freight train, there is another train still waiting. And that invisible waiting line may be one of the most important systems in Indian railways. Today, we go inside Indian Railways freight operations to understand indents, why freight congestion happens, how Indian Railways earn money, and why India is trying to redesign logistics at a scale few railway systems in the world have attempted. Indian Railways is not simply operating trains, it is operating a national logistic network. But before a freight train moves, a customer submits an indent. Think of an indent as a request for transport capacity. Only after capacity is matched, wagons, locomotive, crew, terminal, and train path does movement happen. And this is where something fascinating appears. Industry estimates suggest that at any moment between roughly 2,000 and 3,500 freight rake requests remain in and waiting across the network. During peak seasons, this may rise beyond 5,000. That does not automatically mean failure. It means demand is larger than instantly available capacity. Indian Railways typically load around 2,500 to 2,700 freight rakes daily. So, effectively, the system constantly manages around 1 to 2 days of future logistic demand sitting inside the queue. But not all freight is equal. Coal remains the backbone. Power plants depend on uninterrupted coal movement. Then comes iron ore, cement, fertilizer, food grains, and increasingly containers. Each commodity stresses different parts of the network. Coal stresses heavy haul corridors. Containers demand fast turnaround. Cement is seasonal. Food grains surge during procurement cycles. So when people ask, why are freight trains delayed? The answer is usually not enough trains. The answer is capacity bottlenecks moved somewhere else. Maybe terminal, maybe wagon availability, maybe network parts, maybe policy. Indian Railways does not fail uniformly. It strains selectively. Here is something many people miss. Passenger trains may get public attention, but freight generates the financial engine of Indian Railways. Freight contributes roughly two-thirds of railway earnings. Coal remains the largest contributor, followed by iron ore, steel, cement, fertilizers, containers, and industrial cargo. Indian Railways freight revenue crossed approximately 1.78 lakh crore in financial year 2025-26, while total freight loading reached a record 1,670 million tons. That scale makes Indian Railways one of the world's largest freight rail operators. But there is a challenge. India's economy is growing faster than traditional rail logistics capacity, which means rail must evolve from moving trains to managing supply chain. For decades, Indian Railways ran passenger and freight trains on largely shared tracks. That created a structural problem. Passenger trains received operational priority. Freight trains absorbed the delays. So, India launched one of the largest logistic infrastructure programs, Dedicated Freight Corridor. The eastern and western dedicated freight corridors together span about 2,843 kilometers. These corridors were created specifically to separate freight from passenger operations and unlock capacity. And the impact goes beyond speed. Higher axle load, more trains, lower transport cost, better punctuality, double stack container operations, higher wagon utilization, and reduced turnaround time. The freight corridor changes one important thing. Capacity shifts from being constrained to becoming flexibility. But here is the interesting part. Even after DFC, the indent queue still exists because growth creates new demands. Remove one bottleneck, another appears downstream. That is how large logistics systems evolve. So, how does Indian Railways compare globally? Let's take the example of United States. Heavy haul rail dominates long distance freight. Private freight railroads optimize for profitability and long trains. Next, China. Massive high speed passenger network frees conventional corridors for freight movement. Next, Europe. Rail freight exists, but road transport still dominates many countries. Next, Japan. Passenger efficiency is world famous, but freight volumes are relatively modest. India is building a different model, a mixed use network combined with dedicated freight corridors, electrification, multimodal cargo terminals, and integrated logistics planning. The ambition is bigger than faster trains. The ambition is to shift freight from roads to rail because lower logistic costs mean cheaper manufacturing, more exports, less fuel use, and stronger industrial competitiveness. Indian Railways has also set long-term freight expansion ambition towards multi-billion ton capacity growth. Next time you see a freight train crossing, remember that train began long before the locomotive moved. It started in an invisible queue, a queue where demand, policy, capacity, industry, and economics collide. Because the future of Indian Railways freight is not only about building more tracks, it is about deciding which train moves next. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Search Pulse for more railway engineering, operations, and infrastructure stories. See you in the next video.